Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wednesday Build. This is episode 1.24, and today we're going to be discussing the topic building scalable legal apps, starting, scoping, and launching ideas you can sell, featuring the Gavel marketplace, as well as a lot of different case examples and studies. So we're going to launch right in. My name is Brittany Hernandez, and I am a lawyer. I'm a veteran. I'm the founder and CEO of Kamayam Law and Kamayam Kamai LLC. I have a master's degree with distinction from the University of Exeter and the London Film School. I've also served as a business development executive or partner engagement executive for a legal tech startup called Vala, based out of Scotland. I also am a Gavel expert, a no-code, low-code developer, usually with using tools like Gavel, Softer, Airtable, Notion, Zapier, and more. But I focus specifically on Gavel, and I used to work with a company called GigLaw as well, doing automations and building out workflows and applications for other lawyers. I'm also the global ambassador to law schools for Gavel, formerly Documate. And through that program, and I facilitate their law school program, I'm also the program director and senior instructor of the Law Students in Legal Tech Access to Justice Fellowship. I'm the founder, course creator, and senior instructor of Kamayam Academy, where we have Gavel certification courses in Go Full Page, Softer and Airtable actually as well, and more. I'm the creator and host of the Lightning Talks for Legal Innovators series in partnership with Gavel, as well as this series, the Wednesday Build, and the creator of the free interactive digital magazine, Code Word Hex. The creator and editor of the Tuesday Forecast newsletter and the founder of Kamayam Retreats, where once a year, a group of female founders and high achievers get together. We connect with each other, learn from each other, and grow our businesses together. I'm from San Diego, California, but I live in London now. And you can call me the beat emoji, as my friend M calls me, or peanut or fiddle, as you like, as my dad and my uncle like to call me. So as I mentioned, today we're going to be discussing the topic building scalable legal apps, starting, scoping, and launching ideas that you can sell, featuring the Gavel marketplace. Before I featured the Gavel marketplace, I wanted to feature a couple of different companies that are doing this very thing that I think is very interesting to kind of take a look at in the market. So you can see what other lawyers are doing, what other people that are doing in this kind of space of building legal apps using things like Gavel as the back end. So let's go into my favorite example first, and that is Hello Divorce. So Hello Divorce is very interesting as a company in general because it was started by Aaron Levine, who is a lawyer, family law attorney, who was practicing for several years, I think over 10 or 11 years at the time of the recording I saw. And she decided to start Hello Divorce as a way for her clients who wanted uncontested divorces to go throughout this process in their own way, in a DIY kind of process. So what they were able to do is they were able to build out some DIY solutions and interviews that produce certain documents and required processes for obtaining a divorce in different states. And they started with one state or two, I can't remember, I think it was one or two. And now they've been able to get funding, venture capital, to build out the rest of the different states within the US. So this is a really fascinating kind of case study because what we're seeing is a lawyer turned venture capital backed kind of startup in a way where it's more acting as a software development company for DIY solutions. So this is very interesting to see this transition and how seamlessly they were able to transition using Gavel as a backend. And if you don't know already what Gavel is a no-code platform that allows lawyers to create their own legal apps and products, as well as do document automation and so on. So I'll show you deeper into kind of what Gavel looks like on the back end soon. But first, I'm just going to kind of go through a couple of different case examples so we can kind of see what's happening in the market and how we can get ideas for how we might be able to build something like this ourselves. The whole concept behind Gavel generally is this idea that we could build our own legal version of TurboTax for our clients. And you can also use it for internal things such as document automation, internal process automation, and so on. But the idea is that there are also client portals where you can have data persistence for your clients, for example. They can have their branded experience all the way through and more. So there's a lot of customization options as well. But I just thought it'd be interesting kind of to think about this idea of how we might be able to build and scale legal apps and using some case studies and examples along the way. So what we see with Hello Divorce is a mix between DIY solutions offered to, let's say, a customer base that normally would be pro se and wouldn't be able to afford a lawyer, but we have those services being delivered by lawyers, but through the automation process that is facilitated through the Scalable platform. So with Hello Divorce as an example, if we go to their plans and services, we can go to plans first and take a look at their tiered approach. So here you can see that you can select your state from the drop-down menu, and it's going to customize kind of what you see here. But you have a DIY plan for $400 at the time of this recording, Pro plan for $1,500 or 4 monthly payments of $440. So different ways that people can pay. Plus plan for $2,500 or 4 monthly payments of $690, and a mediation plan for $3,800 or 4 monthly payments of $1,075. So you can see how this is broken down and what's included within each of these different packages, where the mediation plan, being the more expensive plan, has 5 hours of mediation with one or more of their experts. So we're seeing a different way of legal services being packaged by lawyers who are also acting as sort of a software development startup. And I love this example of Hello Divorce because of this very straightforward approach at accessing different types of markets at different levels. So that is levels of ability to pay. So not everyone is able to pay $500 an hour to meet with a lawyer or however much money to meet with a mediator. So this has been a really interesting way that people are tapping into markets they normally wouldn't have access to and that other people would be providing services for. It also fills a gap between the people who cannot afford services at all and qualify for something like pro bono services at some kind of clinic, for example, or the people who can afford lawyers at the higher rates, let's say $500 to $1,000 an hour. But there's a gap for the normal average person who it makes too much money to qualify for working with a legal aid organization or pro bono clinic, but doesn't make enough to be able to hire a lawyer for their higher rates per hour. So this is really targeting that middle market where they're able to, they need the service, they want it to be lawyer backed, but they aren't able to afford the time of a lawyer. So in this way, it also is very useful for the person who is the lawyer creating the solution because they're able to scale. So they're able to also access this market that they previously didn't have access to because of the billable hour rates that they previously had. So in this particular example, it also provides something that is price certainty and stability for the client. So the client goes in knowing exactly how much it's going to cost and what they need to do, and they're guided every step of the way. Whereas sometimes with the billable hour, it can cause a lot of uncertainty and feelings of instability from the client side because they are saying yes to an amount that is not determined in advance. So here we have sort of this flat fee structure where they know exactly what's included within this packaged version of legal services. So I just love this example and approach. They also offer some free resources that are interesting as well, such as a child support estimator for California. So somebody can go through and try out this calculator here. They're able to kind of see how much they might need to pay for child support. So you can see all these different resources, and we're seeing a different way of engaging with the customer from a more guiding perspective on this front end and also for these different markets. I also wanted to show you their services plans, which I think are really fun to kind of take a look at as well. So here it's broken down between financial services, mediation services, and divorce coaching. So if we go all the way down to divorce coaching, you can see the options that they have for these divorce coaches. So this is someone who's going to support them throughout their divorce process. So this helps you see through and beyond divorce. So this is going to be somebody who is like Kim, for example, or Kara, who are not necessarily going to be lawyers, but they're going to be there to help you emotionally, to help you maybe logistically along the way to kind of sort everything out and help you feel less stressed throughout this process. So let's go back to the services we were looking at before. So we see mediation. Let's check these ones out here. So under mediation, so let's see what this says. During mediation, divorcing couples work with an important third party on issues they need help resolving, such as custody, finances, and property division, etc. So they have mediators that are experienced and that know all about divorce law. Although they don't give legal advice, they will help you understand your options better. So the main goal would be to reach a full agreement outside of court. So this is a really interesting option that's also being provided by the same sort of provider, you could say, which is a lawyer who created this company that offers software development solutions that are sort of DIY solutions to these sort of personal problems and personal legal problems, such as wanting to get an uncontested divorce. And having these is in a kind of price bracket that is very determined from the start and known from the start. So if you look at the mediation by the hour options here, you can see that you can choose from your state and how much time you'd like, and then you can add that to your cart. So you can see your cart here would be for $900. So for 3 hours, $900, and then you can proceed to your checkout and go throughout this checkout process. So I just find this really interesting, putting in your information, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really kind of like how we are interacting with sort of Amazon type of thing. Like we're purchasing time with a lawyer in the same way that we would purchase something to be delivered by Amazon to our house. So it's very interesting to see this being used in the legal services sector and to see that the legal services are being packaged in a way that is so different from what we're used to, which is trying to find a lawyer, maybe being able to afford them, maybe they're being able to accommodate you as a client. Maybe it's a match, maybe it's not, et cetera, et cetera. So it kind of goes on to show you all these other types of services that can also be available for you here, scheduling calls. And then let's go on to the last one, which is financial services. So here we have divorce financial planning. So this is by the hour services as well. So we see that there are still by the hour packages here, but that under plans, we also have the ability to choose our state, see our DIY plan, and see what's involved to kind of what's going to happen once we add this to our cart and purchase this. So this is a flat fee structure. So we're going to answer simple questions using Scalable at the back end, the software. Then that's going to generate all of the divorce forms that you need for California. So it goes through how you can kind of see what's in here. You can watch this video. Let's just check a little bit of this out.
With Hello Divorce, our experts have put in the work to streamline the process and save you the most money while still providing the highest quality of service and support. You won't have to worry about the process or unfamiliar legal terms because we'll be guiding you through and we'll answer any questions you may have. You get to choose a plan based on your budget and needs. Our Pro plan is the most popular, but you can always upgrade. Our experienced team or chat with us online for easy to understand questions. Our software makes it so you can skip forms and questions that don't apply to you, saving you hours of work and confusion. Along the way, our team track your case with the court and update you on what steps to agreement or want specific legal advice. Okay. We've got a team of...
So you can kind of see from this example what is going on in the background and how it looks and what types of questions are being asked. So it goes exactly step by step through what happens when you purchase a Hello Divorce plan. You get access to the Divorce Navigator. So as soon as you purchase your plan, you'll receive an email with a link to start your forms. Most clients are able to complete their petition within 10 minutes of purchasing. Follow our step-by-step instructions. After you receive your forms, check them over carefully, then follow our DIY instructions on how to file and serve. Follow along with our software. So every form you need for almost any situation is handled by our software. Watch for court updates to your case and follow the instructions until your divorce is finalized. So this is a really step-by-step guided process for how to go about getting your divorce that is uncontested within this particular jurisdiction. So I just find this really interesting. And I think everyone should this is such a great case study of how things are moving in the industry towards this sort of separation from billable hours and products, legal products, what's being kind of termed now as legal productization. And so how that can look from a packaging perspective. And this is very much sort of like a full service type of experience or unbundled experience where you can kind of put the pieces together to have a full service if you'd like, or you can just take one part of it. So this unbundling of services is also a very important and key component to what's happening in the industry right now. Another example I'd like to show you when we're talking about building scalable legal apps is Contract High. So Contract High is a company that focuses on offering custom contracts to empower women, building businesses, and breaking barriers. So we define women as everyone who identifies as a woman, for example, here. What's interesting about Contract High is that they kind of break this up into sort of more of a membership versus a la carte option. So in Hello Divorce, you have packages, and in Contract High, you have memberships and you have a la carte options. So under the a la carte options, you can purchase documents kind of piecemeal. So you can say, I want just this confidentiality and non-disclosure agreement. I want just this amendment agreement. I want just this appearance release. And you can see what the pricing is for each one of these. So that goes back to that cost certainty for the end customer. You can also see, though, that somebody who might need to use these kinds of workflows all the time might benefit from a membership. So if they always need an NDA for many different clients that they work with, then they might benefit from just being a member. So you can see here that you can pay yearly or monthly for a membership option to this Contract High kind of database of things where you can access any of the templates in the library for that one price per year, which is great. So here's a pay yearly for $1,500, save $300, or pay monthly for $150 per month for 12 months. So you can see that right now they're maxed out. The membership is so popular that they weren't able to add more members at the time. So they can join the waitlist or check out the a la carte options. So that's pretty interesting as well to see that this is being very successful. So with this kind of a la carte option, I'll just kind of take you, let's go ahead and say get it, for example, and see where it takes us. So in this particular example, we have a confidentiality agreement. It kind of talks about what is involved in this. So this is what Scalable looks like to an end user on the application view. So here we have the microdose. So if you're sharing information or data and you want to keep this confidential, this is an absolute must. So this is kind of one of those where it's just giving you an example of what is in here. Same with the amendment agreement and so on. So in the next example, so I just love this example as well because of this kind of difference between the membership options and the a la carte options that are available for this particular group of customers. So I highly recommend that you check out Hello Divorce and get Contract High or Contract High as examples of how things are shifting within the market for lawyers as people who are packaging services and unbundling their services in a way that allows the consumer to have price certainty, instant access, and for the lawyer to have a scalable stream of income outside of the billable hour. The other example I want to show you is DOS Docs, which is one that I'm less familiar with, but has been doing a lot of work in this space. So this has things like on-demand mortgage loan documents, for example. So this is a law firm that has used the software to create these types of examples. So I'm going to show you this one, for example. So how to use DOS Docs and how it works. So this is a Scalable workflow. So you can see.
Hi, this is Dennis Doss from DOS Doc.
How this is kind of used on the back end.
Go into your settings in Word.
So he's going to go through how to.
If you've opened an account,
go through this particular example. So we can see lender information, broker information, property information, title data, borrow information, escrow data, loan details, fee data, payoffs, terms of service, and so on. So you can see how this, he's going to walk through how to use this from start to finish, which I think is really interesting that he's showing exactly behind the scenes how this works. So you can see also what the outcome is, like what the output document shows and what is involved in this particular workflow before you purchase it. So I think that's great. You can see we have why DOS docs: quality, speed, cost, ease, customized, and secure, and also created by lawyers. So you can see kind of how this works out, and also by your state. So if we go to California, for example, you can see that we have the business purpose loan docs, we have brokers investor packages, business purpose construction loan docs, we have consumer bridge loan docs, seller carryback docs for California, et cetera, et cetera. You can also see the prices here. So we can say order docs, we put in our first name, last name, email, and our company, submit, and then we can get, the next step, automated process to getting that particular document. So I think that these are some really good examples of seeing how this is kind of their own marketplace that they've created as well, along with helpful resources and guides and how-to videos to take somebody through this process from start to finish to show them exactly what they're buying and what the features are going to be. So in this feature package, for example, this is for 50 states. Complete set of investor docs and disclosure for brokers, lender, purchaser, disclosure agreements, etc. So you can see kind of what's involved, like what's included in these packages. And it goes back to what I said, you're ordering legal services now in a way that's like ordering something on Amazon. So you get instant access to it. You're able to interact with that right away. You have that price certainty, and you're able to kind of see this package in a way that is like a shop. So that is how things are kind of moving in the industry towards this more marketplace type of feel of not only legal documents, but also sort of legal advice and information. Not advice, obviously that's going to be needing to be tailored, but maybe you could get a sense of whether you might be, let's say, eligible for a particular type of service or a grant or whatever else, which we'll kind of go into in a moment. So these are just a couple of different examples of how people are using their Scalable accounts to create legal applications that can be separated from their billable hour as a separate stream of revenue that they can then scale and have be a full standalone business as part of their law firm, which is really interesting. So I think these are some great examples of that. Something else we see as well is legal apps on the Scalable marketplace itself. So if you go to scalable.io, just the regular main website, you can go to the marketplace, and right now you can see that we have that kind of information about divorce. So Scalable powered guides and apps to do it yourself. So at fault versus no fault divorce, pros and cons of each. So we have some resources here as well, kind of talking about divorce itself and how to kind of go through this process, what the options are. Here, let's look at this example. So we can get the Hello Divorce app for $99 here, for example. So you can kind of see what that looks like on the back end here. So we can see this progress. We can see kind of what this looks like and who made it, Aaron, for example, here. So this is a really good example of how this is being used as well. We can also see other document type examples. So here is a deed of trust, for example. You can see also there's a video here, deed versus deed of trust. So this is a lot around educating the end consumer and the end client of how to use this and how to understand how to use what it is they're purchasing. So I think that education piece is also a really important part of this whole process. You also have things like a certificate of trust. So this one's free to use. So we can say download it as a PDF, for example. And then we can see like what this looks like here. You could also make this as a docx, for example. So let's go ahead and just download this one for just a moment to see what this one looks like. So let's see what this one looks like. So we can have we have that kind of like header page or cover page, and you would have the name of the trust, for example, name, family trust, trustee, certification of trust. So trusts are a really good one for this. So you'd have some different pieces in here that you would want to automate or you'd want to update. You can also see I have the view grid lines on, so you can see the rows So that's a really interesting one. I'm surprised that they had it in that particular format. That's really interesting. We also have this lawyer-backed certificate of trust for individuals for all states. You can download this one and get started like this. So just kind of playing with what's actually in here. This one is an individual advanced trust package with the promo code. So we can enter a promo code here if we have one. And then if they don't have one, they go to the part where they're starting to fill this out. This is just kind of interesting to see kind of what people are creating. So how to make a will without a lawyer, inclusions, we have a revocable living trust, a pour of a will, guardianship of minors, gifts of personal property, financial power of attorney, healthcare directives, HIPAA release, guardianship of pets, trust funding documents, and more. So I think this has been really interesting and an interesting dive into some of the things that are in the marketplace. But I wanted to show you that you can also browse all. So you can see kind of what other people are making. For example, we have an advisor agreement that you can use right away. So let's say we go into this one, we can see what the different sections are. We have a section for company, advisor, services, welcome to the advisor agreement generator. So it shows you like what is going to come out of this, how to kind of get support here, for example. You can give it a reference number or name, what the governing law would be for the agreement, the effective date, and so on. So I think that's going to be a really interesting one as well to kind of play with. And I think a really good starting point for when you're trying to think about how you can build out your own applications is to kind of see what other people are doing already and who's doing it and how they're doing it and why they're doing that, what's already been built out for your particular area so you don't duplicate different efforts. So if somebody's already made something for your particular jurisdiction that people can access, you could get into that market if you think that you can do it better or offer it at a better price, or maybe you have a particular market share that you can own within that particular jurisdiction. But you can also see what's already been handled, how it's been handled, and if it's good enough, then maybe you can focus your energy and attention on building something that hasn't been done yet and building something out that would address a need that hasn't been addressed yet. So I think that's really fun to kind of look through the marketplace, see what people are creating. We have a basic will package. We have a broker's investor packages, a bill of sale, which is a free one as well. We can use now here. So which state we have, which country, the date, and so on. And so you can kind of just see like what these look like as well from each of these pictures here and previews. You can see this is something from Gavel or the Gavel team that they made. So you can also have your own apps hosted on the marketplace. So let's say, for example, you wanted to have yours added. Well, all you need to do is go to contact us, put in your name, your email, and describe your app, and then just say submit. So I think this is going to be a really interesting opportunity for people who want to sell their apps on the marketplace. But as you can see in what other companies are doing is they're having it, some of them actually, DOS-Docs, for example, has their own website with their own marketplace, but you can also have those documents on the Gavel marketplace as well as kind of another way of getting customers that are already going to Gavel for these types of documents. Yours will be there as well. So it can be searched by what type, areas of law, jurisdictions, price, who owns it, for example. So you can search for the owner's name and what language it's in. You can also see kind of like, let's go ahead and just filter by free, for example. And then if we take off DOS-Docs because they don't have free ones, for example. So then we can see kind of like an affidavit of heirs for Orange County, Florida, digital accessibility statements, information security policies, post-order documents. This is kind of an example of all of the question and logic examples and more. So head of terms for property development joint venture from LCN Legal, a health check tool for intercompany agreements for transfer pricing compliance. So you are seeing a lot of different innovative ways of using Gavel for this. So this might be interesting. What's the code generator? Let's try the QR code creator. Let's say Brittany Gavel test. I don't know. I want to do this right now, but when you put your URL in here, let's put some, I don't want to mess anyone else's up, but so then you could also add another one and it would generate that for you. So I'm not going to do this one because I don't want to create one right now, but you can just play with these apps and see how you get on. Actually, let's look at the pictures for the QR generator. Let's just do QR. Here we go. So if we look at the pictures here, we can see that you would put in this and it would give you your instructions. Free to use this for whatever legal purposes you need. Yeah, so interesting. You're seeing this kind of being used very flexibly, which I think is kind of fun. Yeah, you can use this to create card from URLs, useful miscellaneous workflow that can be used quickly to easily create QR codes for your own personal use. Very cool. But either way, so you're seeing all of these different kind of examples of how people are utilizing Gavel and no-code tools like Gavel to build these applications that they can then sell on the marketplace or within their own marketplaces or in their own versions of packages or memberships or a la carte options. Or by jurisdiction if they have lawyers who have created these or had input on these from lots of different jurisdictions to make sure that it's going to be valid within all of those different jurisdictions. So I just feel like this is a really interesting time within the kind of space of legal services delivery and packaging. So I wanted to just share a little bit of how you can actually build these yourselves and thinking about how you might scope and come up with the idea. So let's start first from developing your idea. So one of the things that I taught the students when I was doing the Law Students in Legal Tech Access to Justice Fellowship, which has ended for this year, but will likely have that kind of come up again in the future, is I taught them about how to think about developing their ideas for applications, and then also how to consider scoping their ideas as well. So let me just see if I can find the right section. Yeah, so scoping your idea, developing your idea. So in this particular one, the formula we're going to talk about is for coming up with ideas for a new app is personal interest, experience, and background. So if you're starting as, like, let's say yourself or somebody who's on a team within a law firm or any other team where you're trying to think of new applications and new problems to solve. So you can always start from what you always have, which is yourself and your own experience and your own background and your own expertise. So think about, what are you interested in? You can also do research on what's happening in the world at the time that you're creating this. What are the different problems that people are facing in your particular, based on your particular experience as well and your interest. Starting to have a little bit of curiosity about the unmet needs there and what the current solutions are not providing for your particular niche market. And if you add these together, you can start to develop an idea for an app and product. So when we talk about scoping, though, scoping is a little bit different because that's thinking about, we have our idea, but maybe our idea is very big. Like we want to, let's say with Hello Divorce, for example, we want to build out the uncontested divorce process for every state in the United States. That is a huge task. So what they did was they scoped this down and started with one state. And they built out another one, and then they built out another one, gained more funding, used it as a proof of concept to raise more capital, to invest time, money, and energy, and employ more people to create further tools. So in this particular formula, we're thinking about individual technical ability plus ability to resources such as other team members, stakeholders, people in your target market that you can give that can give you feedback, and more. The functionality of available tools. So that's going to be, what are the limitations of the tools I'm using? And then also, how much time do you have? And that's going to help with your scoping down your idea. So in the fellowship, what I use as an example to kind of build this out was the example of a disabled veteran. So I'm going to just go to, like, I think it's va.gov. Let's look for housing. So let's see if I can find this from here. Search like housing for disabled veterans. So in this particular example, I started from myself. So disability housing grants for veterans. This is perfect. So when I was developing an app for the fellowship to kind of show how to use specifically things like question logic, page logic, and just kind of a more simple example of how you can create something very quickly. And we did an exercise where we set a timer for 60 minutes. And then just kind of built something from scratch, reading through this top to bottom, scoping it down, figuring out where we were going to start. So obviously in the world of veterans, like housing and grants and all the different things that they can do, there's lots of different ways that you can go about this. But we wanted to scope it down to something we could build within 60 minutes so that we could understand, we could research, understand, build, and launch within 60 minutes, just as an exercise to break us into the idea of building legal applications. So I decided that for ours, because there's lots of different options on this page, as well as further ways that people can access money for housing. And in this particular case, I pulled and drew from my experience within the military when I served on active duty in the United States Coast Guard. I drew from that experience. I also did some research around, just disabled veterans' rights, maybe if there was an awareness month, for example, so that we could maybe do some marketing around hashtag, so on and so forth, to build awareness for the community itself, that would be, maybe this would be a useful application for example. And sometimes, so here you have all of the information somebody would need to figure out what it is that they would be qualified for. But maybe this could be literally a 2 or 3 question app that you can build that would make it easier for the person to understand and maybe to serve as a lead generation tool for your firm. So maybe you focus specifically on veterans' rights, and for people who, let's say, they were, they were served in the military, and then when they got out, they had some issues or whatever else that they wanted help with, and they wanted to hire a lawyer to help them kind of understand what their rights were in relation to this. So maybe you help handle these types of appeals and whatever other processes are involved in this particular endeavor here for these types of grants, for example. But you need a way for people to be drawn to your website through, let's say, a legal application that you build based on this information. Because this is kind of just text, which is fine. You could read this and you could understand whether you qualify or not, but maybe you can kind of see the potential to turn this language into a Scalable workflow that can then serve as your lead source. So since it's a little bit shorter, it's really good for demonstration. So in this particular case, we have the option for somebody to get a grant for their house that allows them to get a certain amount of money that they can then use to put in things like ramps if they have a wheelchair, or kind of like handles and bars to insert around their house to help get up, and so on, widen hallways, and so on. So this makes it to where somebody who has certain qualifying disabilities and meets all of these requirements can get this particular type of grant. There are other types of grants as well. So a special home adaptation, also a temporary home, temporary residence adaptation grant, which also has rules. So maybe somebody could go through, figure out how these all relate together, what the different pieces of this are that would make it to where somebody could qualify for one thing but not another thing, or maybe both and qualify or apply to both, then you'd be able to kind of see what information should be shown to the end user. So maybe in this case, you have a series of questions, maybe 5 questions that are the determining factors of whether or not somebody could qualify for one or more of these types of grants. And then at the output, you give them some resources as well as an outcome or decision based on the input. And maybe it's a customized letter that says something like, dear so-and-so, congratulations, it looks like you're eligible for these different things. Here's how to apply for each of these ones. So in the example that I did for the students in the fellowship program, we also created our own websites, our personal websites like this, which also include an app marketplace that people can interact with, purchase apps from. So let's say, for example, this one here is the one that I think this might be the one that goes to Stripe. Let me just double check. I think this one's not the one I'm looking for. Yeah, I think this one goes to one I'm testing that's not working, that's not part of Scalable. It's actually part of something else. Let me go try to test 2, for example. So this would be, I would expect to see a Stripe paywall here. So yeah, so here's a payment page for, just this is just an app that's just a practice one. So I wouldn't want anyone to actually buy this. This is just a demo, purely demo website. So on this one here, you also see the eligibility for a specially adapted housing grant workflow. So if I say learn more and I go to this details page, I can see all of these different options here. And then I can see also the continue button, which brings me to the app itself. So the person can get some help text, they can interact with this information, they can put in their first name, their last name, and their email address. They continue. Then they can see the home information. So will you be using the grant money to buy, build, or change your permanent home? And then we have some information about what is a permanent home. They can say yes, do you own or will you own the home? If they say no, we have some sorry messages. If they say yes to both, then we say that you may be eligible and how to apply. You can apply right now if you go here. So you can see how this information that looks like this, which is maybe less easy to understand or interact with as somebody who is trying to figure out whether they qualify for this, it might be easier for them to interact with the information like this. So as I mentioned, this could serve as a lead generation tool. Let's say you've input that information. Maybe you ask a question that's something like, would you like to hear like more news and offers from our firm? They say yes, and that kicks off an automation that then invites them to subscribe to the newsletter, or it automatically adds them to a newsletter, or invites them to take whatever next step in the funnel for your business development plan. So that's kind of how this operates and looks. And I'll just double check quickly on my demo Airtable to see kind of what's been going on here. Completed user session. So yeah, so you can see here that we have the workflow name, and this is from running a Zap. So you can see here that I created this one just now and what time I created it, any notes, what the email address was that was entered, the first name and the last name, the full name, the workflow name, and so on. So I think this is really interesting as a means of kind of understanding how we can integrate our legal expertise and knowledge with our now ability to create development solutions through no-code software, as well as seeing the different options that we have available to us now for how we are packaging services, legal services specifically in this particular case, and how we can use our accounts to do so. So I'm going to quickly show you Scalable for anyone who hasn't seen it before, and just show you how this one was built, the one I just showed you from the software website here. I just was going to see quickly if I think this was just going to be the name from a dropdown. Yeah, but you could also likely do like a linked record as well. So you can link that to this as well. So I just did that when I first set up that particular way, but there's plenty of different ways you can do it. So this is what a playground dashboard looks like for someone who has an account with Scalable. So this is a student version. So it's a demo version that doesn't have all of the features, but it's going to show you kind of just enough to get you the general feel of what Scalable is, what it looks like, and how it functions. So you can see here that we have this option to create a new workflow. Once you do, you're going to be taken to the, you're going to be given the option to give it a name. Then you say create, and that's going to take you, I'm just going to go into this testing environment for a second. So that's going to take you to this editor view. In the editor view, you're going to be able to do a couple of different things. You can build out the actual front end, you could say, of your workflow by putting in different question types. So we have, let's say, for example, excuse me, text question, text area, drop down, combo box, and so on. So you're able to just quickly add that. So if I just wanted a text question, I could just delete it or add it as I'd like. I can create new pages. I can go to the next page and so on. I can duplicate questions, delete them, make them required or not, change the settings, add some logic. So I can say show or hide if a certain variable is a certain value, for example. And what this looks like on the other side, or the end user app, live app view, I can see phone numbers here, and then also within this backend on the editor side, an editor view, I can add output documents. So I can say that I want this PDF to, in this case, be tagged to different sections of a document that will be output at the end. So this is going to be, in this case, I'm telling the computer that I want this to be a string where the phone number variable is showing me from 0 to 3, positions 0 to 3. And then same here, same here, same here. So I'll just show you quickly. Let's just run this. Let's just see, like 4, 2, 4. Let's just do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. And then maybe let's just do 12.0. So you can see this is me kind of practicing what this might look like to make sure that the numbers went where they were supposed to. And then if we go to the end, then I think in this case, maybe I have it to where like this isn't shown to the end user or whatever else. But in this particular case, we have also some settings that are updated, which are thank you. So under settings, you can customize the messages that appear at the end here, such as this one here that says thank you. You can also go into your integrations. You can customize messages, update your general settings, skip the final review page, include a link to continue later, change the language, and more. So you're seeing how this all can work together in order to create applications. So in the example that I gave of the veterans' rights and disability rights here, let me go back to it here. So on the front end, in this this is made with Softer, for example, and Airtable as the back end. So if I go into my app marketplace that I created, you see that people can search through these different ones by topic, by price, for example, up to $15, or for free, for example. They can also search here. So like say I'm looking through the name, eligibility. This is here, for example. So if I click on this one, we can see the description here. And we can see my bio as the creator. We can see my profile. If we say continue, we see our app here that we can interact with. So this is that front end with the live application view. And on the back end of this particular one, we can see this is going to be this one here. So if I go into the editor, you'll see how this looks on the back end. I have some instructions here, some text. I have some single select question here. I have a text question about their first name, their last name, and their email address. Maybe if I was changing this in the future, maybe I would reposition where this appears, or maybe I would ask an additional question, depending on what I'm using this for. If I'm using this as a tool to kind of bring people to me and then kind of be able to lead them to the newsletter or some kind of other business development aspect of my practice, then maybe I would ask a marketing type question, like preferences, like, would you be okay with us reaching out to you with more information about your results, for example? And then you have the home information side, which has some page logic to it, where I'm saying hide this page if service-connected disabilities is none of the above. I have a sorry page that shows if service-connected disabilities is none of the above. And then I have an eligibility, here's how to apply page, where I'm saying show this one now if own home yes or no is yes. So for the sorry page, this one is an instruction block, but it could have been a kickout page. And the reason I didn't make it a kickout page is because I was considering the environment in which the end user would actually interact with this particular workflow, meaning I knew that they were interacting with this in a modal, which makes it to where if they say back, they're going back in softer in my main website and not in Scalable itself. So that means that they need to have the button on the bottom that allows them to go back within the modal. So you need to consider that as well when you're thinking about, so if I go to sorry, this is going to produce a sorry result here, this is none of the above. I need them to be able to go back and to continue to the end in order for this to work within this environment that I've chosen to place this in for my end users. So that's how we can consider from a design perspective, why we might, even though we want to like maybe kick them out, but we also want to consider whether we're triggering a particular zap. If we want to trigger an automation that invites somebody to do something else or some particular message, for example, we might want to consider the conditions of those automations. Airtable is really good for automations as well, because on the back end, for example, you can add logic, which I started to play with a little bit. So we can add a trigger that has some logic. So maybe like we could say like when a record matches certain conditions. So we can set, so blah, 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 repeating group. So let me just double check if there's anything here we want to know. So we can add advanced logic or actions. So when we want to configure this, so let's just call this, let's say computed user sessions. And then we can add some conditions. So we can say when, and then we can say, let's say, for example, workflow name is eligibility for a specially adapted housing grant, and or full, let's say first name is not, or let's say is not empty, and or whatever else, let's say, and or whatever. So you can just kind of see and something something and something something, then you can kind of do this and that thing. So let's say send an email. If like, let's say if these conditions are met, send this email. If these conditions are met though, send that email. So let's say somebody gets taken to the sorry page. I want to have it to where in that case, I want this thing to happen or this email to be sent. Sorry, you weren't able to be eligible in this particular case. However, maybe we can look at what might be available to you in some other particular case. So this is going to be how you might be able to do that. So I don't have any automations kind of set up right now, but you can see how this might work. And in this particular case, what I was trying to show you earlier is that I set up a Stripe page in test mode to kind of show how that might look, but this one needs to be kind of opened in a new window and not necessarily within a modal. So modals are really great, but can sometimes pose different design challenges, maybe from desktop to mobile and so on, but something to consider how you just always want to test in multiple and different environments. So for example, if something works perfectly in desktop, make sure you're trying it on mobile and on tablets to make sure that it works in all these different environments. Maybe it works great on Mac, but not so great on a, let's say a PC, whatever the case may be. So just try it in lots of different environments to make sure it works for all of your customers who are in lots of different situations. So this has been a discussion on how to build scalable legal apps, starting scoping and launching ideas that you can sell. I hope that it's been useful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to give you my information in just a moment. But I love talking about this stuff. I am really fascinated by what people are doing in different markets and different sectors and how they're utilizing Scalable in lots of different ways to bring extra revenue and create additional revenue streams outside of the billable hour. So as far as a few announcements go, this has been the Wednesday build, which I have new episodes live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I'm in London, so that's around 6 p.m. for me. I also have new issues of Code Word Hex out every Tuesday, which you're welcome to take a look at. Also, I have the Tuesday forecast go out every Tuesday. It's only once a week and just very simply gives you all the information that's upcoming events and so on within the community. I have Scalable certification courses on the Chromium Academy website. I also have courses in Go Full Page, Software and Airtable, and more to come. I'm currently revamping all of our courses from the Scalable certification side. So I have basics done. So I'm going to be updating silver, gold, and gold test out very soon. So watch out for that. Also, I have the Core 3 cohort of the Scalable certification courses coming up next Thursday, so a week from tomorrow. So you're welcome to join us. You just need to enroll in the basics course or the full course in order to get access. You'll all see the event information and Zoom link in the Chromium. It's actually under the Scalable certification course community events page. So you'll be able to access that there. Also, if you would like to join us in our community, you can purchase any of our courses or enroll in some of our free courses, and you'll be automatically added to Chromium Global. And then also we have the Scalable Slack group. So if you'd like to join us in the Slack group, it's very active and there's always different people asking questions, and we're always trying to help each other out and answer each other's questions. So that's all for this episode. Thank you so much for being here. Those of you that are with me live and those of you that are watching on the recording, hello. Our next one is going to be next Wednesday, the 21st of June at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We're going to be talking about the why and how of the second brain using Notion to store key information. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or via email at brittany@chromium.pro, or you can reach out to me at brittany@scalable.io with any inquiries related to Scalable's law school program. So it was lovely seeing everyone. I hope this was a useful episode and that you're able to build and launch your own legal apps very soon. So thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.